for joining today's virtual education program with Cancer Support Community Los Angeles. Today's educational talk is hosted in collaboration with our Southern California affiliates, Cancer Support Community Pasadena, Cancer Support Community Redondo, and Cancer Support Community Valley Ventura, Santa Barbara. I'm Larissa Montalvo, and I am the Program Manager at CSCLA, and I welcome you to this week's webinar titled The F Word and How It Promotes Thrivership. The best title. Today we'll be joined by Rachel Beller, registered dietitian and creator of the Beller Nutrition Masterclass, to learn all about the impact of fiber on gut health and the importance of fiber diversification. But before we begin, if this is your first time joining us, Cancer Support Community Los Angeles is a premier nonprofit organization providing vital social support to families facing cancer, including patients, caregivers, and their loved ones, all at no cost. Our programs include support groups, healthy lifestyle classes, social activities, and educational programs such as this one. If you'd like to learn more about our services or watch our past webinars, please visit our website at www.cancersupportla.org. So without further ado, I would like to welcome today's speaker. Rachel Beller is the creator of the Beller Method, a 3-time best-selling author, creator of award-winning power spicing nutrition blends, and a spokesperson for the American Cancer Society. She sits on several medical advisory boards, including Cancer Support Community Los Angeles and JK Living, and she founded the Beller Community Outreach Program. For over a decade, Rachel conducted research on the role of nutrition in breast cancer prevention at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center and the John Wayne Cancer Institute at Providence St. John's Health Center. She has worked with Matthew and Camilla McConaughey, Lauren Dern, and Sheryl Crow, and is the go-to nutritionist for Good Morning America, The Today Show, Extra, Dr. Oz, CNN, ABC World News Tonight, Rachel Ray, BuzzFeed, Glamour, and Vogue. Her mission is to provide a high level of nutritional support through her 8-week Transformation Masterclass, an easy action plan for optimizing weight management and breast cancer protection. Welcome, Rachel. We're so excited to be hosting you today. Thank you for joining us.
I am so excited to be here and to share about my favorite F word, which is fiber. So I am going to share my screen here and get right to it. So before I get started, I want to share a little bit about myself and what brings me here and what connects me to the topic, actually. So I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist and the founder of the Beller Nutritional Institute. I have 20 years of experience in the clinical setting, the research setting, the private patients care setting, and I primarily focus on weight loss and cancer risk reduction. I'm a mother of 4 incredible kids, and my husband, Mark, is my absolute best friend. He's an amazing radiologist as well, and my favorite thing to do is travel. That is my all-time favorite hobby. And when it comes to nutrition, I see a very common theme in my office. As patients come in, they have this look like you see on the screen here. They're very confused and overwhelmed and scared. And they tell me many times that when they open the fridge, they literally are scared to eat because they don't know what to eat, what not to eat. And it's confusing. They've seen their doctors, they've gotten information, they've gotten general information, but all in all, what I see is that there's no follow through. There's no guidance to carry through a nutritional action plan. And I myself experienced the lack of clarity and confidence when it comes to nutrition. It all started when I was a young teen. I actually struggled with my own weight. I wasn't majorly overweight or anything, but I really struggled to be comfortable. And I also lacked that clarity and confidence and in having a roadmap when it came to what I should be eating or what would make me feel better to eat, actually. And then I experienced some more confusion when it came to what to eat when my father fell ill to cancer. my mother and I and my brothers, we were constantly looking for some guidance, for some handheld, like a handheld approach to carry us through this journey with him. And we got handouts, we got a little bit of information, but boy, did we felt so lost. And what I decided to do was, as I started my career in nutrition, was I decided to transform my own personal pain into possibilities for others. And I became the director of nutritional oncology research and counseling. I conducted at the John Wayne Cancer Institute. I also worked at Cedars as in the research department and conducted research on the role of nutrition in the risk of a recurrence for breast cancer. And that really turned the light on, like this bulb went on in my head that, wait a minute, there's an undeniable link between weight status and cancer risk and risk of recurrence, that I decided to take my own personal struggle with my own weight and the journey that my family and I experienced with my father and sink it into an action plan. And I developed the Beller method so that patients can have a clear and concise method to follow and have clarity and confidence through this journey. And I deliver the Beller method in two different ways. One is through private counseling, and the other is through the 8-week masterclass, which we just started one this week. So that is available to anyone, but really that's what I decided to do. And I love it. I just love it. I love seeing my patients' reaction when they have that clarity and confidence. And I decided to take it further and share the information and the methodology. I wrote 3 best-selling books and decided to pursue some media appearances and really got engaged in community outreach and really share that passion that I have. And that's really what brings me here to you today, to talk about fiber, to talk about my favorite F word and teach you about that. Having said that, I want to share that nutrition is a big puzzle, and there are a lot of different pieces, and there's some main concepts that really are important for us to address. Today, however, I'm just talking about one piece of the puzzle of the nutrition blueprint, which is fibers. So I chose fiber because I am obsessed with fiber. I think it is so important, and we've come such a long way in learning what it can do for us and how great it is. And what I love is that it's so simple to do. So let's talk about the 5 things that fiber can do for you. So fiber can help with weight management. It can also help reduce excess estrogen in the body. It can promote a healthy gut microbiome. It helps with blood sugar regulation. And it has also been shown to strengthen our immunity, which is amazing. So all of this can help with reducing the risk of breast cancer and increasing thrivership. So when you think about fiber, I want you to think about a cleaning crew entering your body and doing some serious daily maintenance, scrubbing your insides clean. And when we hear so much about different detoxes that are being touted, different products that are touted for detox, let me tell you, this is the real detox. Our body naturally has its own process to detoxify, and fiber just helps us do a much better job. So the key is to have a game plan with it. So I tell my patients to aim for about 35 grams of fiber per day. And this isn't an arbitrary number. This comes from research. And if you look collectively at research specific for breast cancer risk reduction and Thrivership, it's amazing how we see that women who ingest the 30-35 versus below 25-20, below the 30, don't get as much protection as those who are above the 30-35. So it's very important to focus on that number. Beyond the number, what we want to focus on is fiber diversification. So you're focusing on the number as a whole, but then we want to diversify with fibers like insoluble fibers, soluble fibers, and then what we've learned is that soluble fibers now, we want to focus on those that are rich in prebiotic fibers. And also there are these special fibers known as beta glucans that are so important as well. So it's an interesting world with fiber, and the key again is to diversify to get the most out of it. Who would have ever thought that fiber became so complex? But again, it's simple, and I'll show you the way. So first, I want to talk about how fiber assists with weight management. So first and foremost, it helps increase our sense of fullness. And also it helps with, it helps us get our workout internally. And what do I mean by that? By food exercise. I'm going to show you this bread right here. So this bread right here is 100% flourless. It basically has intact whole grains, has lentil, wheat berries that have been pretty much put together in the shape of a bread, okay? No flour. What happens is your body needs to break through the barriers of those whole grains to break it down. So it has work to do in order to digest it and break it down. This bread right here has flour. It's whole wheat bread. It has maybe 21 grains or 100 grains, doesn't really matter, but it has flour. So in order to break that down, your body doesn't have to work through all those barriers. So it's more of an immediate type of processing. So all in all, I want you to think of these two concepts here as if you took the elevator or the stairs to get to the 10th floor. Both will get you there, right? But one requires more work. One actually provides you with a workout. So that's really, really important. And that's a difference that I want you to pay attention to, aside from the ingredient list. The ingredient list is very, very important. And if you want a little shopping tip, what you could do is do the squeeze test. Just when you're at the store, just make sure the manager isn't around. Give it a little squeeze. And if it resists squishing, that's a good sign that it may be flourless. But there are other things to look at as well, but like sugar content and all of that. But that's a little tip for you guys for shopping. Next, let's talk about how fiber can reduce estrogen levels. So when you get enough fiber, what happens is, see here, the cleaning crew that we were talking about, excess hormones like extra estrogen, cholesterol, other potential carcinogens, they're lurking around, and fiber basically grabs them and increases the stool weight. It takes it out of the body, and which is amazing. So that's how fiber works synergistically to help reduce estrogen levels. And the more that gets excreted and less gets reabsorbed into the blood, the lower the risk of breast cancer and increased thrivership. So again, when hormones like estrogen are hanging around, and there's not enough fiber, they get recycled back into the blood. There's been some research on this, and here's a comparison between women who ate a plant-based diet versus typical Western diet. This was high fiber, low fiber, and what it showed is that the plant-based diet had a dramatic increase in the excretion of excess estrogen in the stool. So that's pretty cool. Pretty simple stuff to measure there. Now let's talk about how fiber promotes a healthy microbiome. So when you think about your gut, I want you to think of it as a garden. And how you treat it is going to determine how things are going to thrive and how they're going to grow. And gut health, interestingly, is essential when it comes to breast health. And interestingly, it's also been shown, and research suggests that women with breast cancer tend to have more of something called dysbiosis, which is an abnormal bacterial balance in the gut. So let's have a look at how this works. So when you're eating those special prebiotic fiber-rich foods, like asparagus, for example, and you see a list right down here, like soy and garlic, onions and basil seeds and chia seeds and all those wonderful things. What's so unique about these fibers is that they are the only foods that have direct access into the large intestines, which is where the gut microbiome resides. So it nourishes that garden and creates these byproducts called the short chain fatty acids. And what they do is they help improve our immunity, they help with weight management, help reduce body inflammation, and can reduce the risk of breast cancer and increase thrivership. So that's amazing. When we don't get enough of these prebiotic foods, what happens is we're not nourishing that garden. It's kind of a sad, wilting looking environment, and which creates that dysbiosis, which is that abnormal bacterial balance in the gut. So when we have dysbiosis, we tend to increase the production of an enzyme called beta-glucuronidase. And what that does is that it signals and sends estrogen back into the blood system. So fiber-fed, healthy gut microbiome helps with that elimination and decreasing blood estrogen levels. So another thing that a healthy gut microbiome does is it interestingly activates phytoestrogens. And phytoestrogens are basically plant-based hormones. And so it found in foods like soy and beans and legumes and flax, and tahini has it, and barley and yams. All kinds of foods have phytoestrogens. And when you activate the phytoestrogens, they competitively bind to estrogen receptors, blocking potential carcinogenic effects of excess true estrogens that are in our bodies. So it's pretty interesting. Again, this is just fiber, and it does such incredible things for our body. Another thing that fiber does is that it helps with our blood sugar control. Incredible. So what happens is when our blood sugars are high, we produce insulin, and that produces a pro-inflammatory growth hormone called IGF, which may stimulate tumor cell growth. What's great is that fiber, especially soluble fiber, acts like a set of brakes and for how quickly our blood sugars will rise. So that is something incredible and valuable when it comes to fiber. Now, last but not least, let's talk about how fiber may strengthen our immune system. I think this is amazing. So those beta glucans, that other category of these soluble fibers, they're very special. They have a dual function. Number one, what they do is they go and they feed the healthy gut bacteria. And number two, they travel over to the intestinal wall and interact with the immune cells and help support our immunity, which is incredible. So prebiotic rich foods are like different mushrooms, and I love recommending for my patients to get all kinds of mushrooms, all mushrooms, but really vary them. Sometimes they use mushroom powders, a broad spectrum mushroom powder, really good stuff. And things like seaweed, nori have these special marine prebiotic fibers, oats, whole grains, really rich in prebiotic fibers as well. So there you have the 5 things that fiber can do for you. There's more, but those are 5 that I wanted to review with you today. But now I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about some actionable things you all can do starting tomorrow. So again, big picture goal, 30-35 grams of fiber. And then we want to make sure we're diversifying our fibers. I want you to think of your fiber intake like an investment portfolio. You want to diversify. It's key. So one of the things I tell my patients and my masterclass participants is that I want them to front load with at least 10 grams of fiber in the morning or before noon. Some people are intermittent fasting, they could do it later, but get that fiber fix of 10 grams, because relying on produce, just eating 2 salads at lunch and 2 salads or a bunch of vegetables at dinner is not going to get you anywhere close to 30-35 grams of fiber when you're relying on food. The average American gets like maybe 11-15 grams of fiber, and I want you guys all to be well above average when it comes to your fiber. So 10 grams of fiber is what you want to front load. And the way we do this with ease is by adding a fiber booster. Let me tell you what I mean. So here's an example of a bowl of sprouted, organic, steel cut, or rolled oats. It has 4 grams of fiber. If you add a fiber booster, and these here are the 3 basic ones that I go with initially when I start a patient out on this. You can go with basil seeds, chia seeds, or organic sprouted ground flaxseed. Just by adding this, you're going to get close to 10 grams of fiber. Maybe you're going to add a few berries or something else to further enhance the fiber. But this is a sure thing. It's a great fiber booster. It also offers omega-3s and other incredible protective nutrients. So again, these are the basic 3s that I start people on. And that's what I recommend doing just to get going. Everybody has a different tolerance. So, maybe a tablespoon isn't something. Talk to your dietitian, figure out a strategy based on your personal needs for that. But that's the basic one that I go with. Now, a lot of people say, Rachel, what's the difference between basil seeds and chia seeds? So I figured, why not just share it with you guys here today? So basil seeds are higher in fiber per tablespoon, but they have than chia seeds, but they have less omega-3s than chia seeds. Basil seeds gel very quickly, like within a minute it's gelling. So depending on how you want to use it and what your preference is, sometimes I want something that gels quickly, and then chia seeds. So those are the main differences. I love them both, but those are just a few tips there. Flax seeds. Flax seeds are a little tricky because you don't want to eat them whole. Your body doesn't really digest them. Unlike chia seeds, the lining around the seed is rather thick, so it's hard for the body to break it down. Flax seeds are the #1 source of dietary lignans, which are phytoestrogens, those plant-based estrogens that we talked about. There's been amazing research on lignans supporting breast cancer risk reduction and recurrence. I usually recommend about 1 to 2 tablespoons per day, but again, it's okay to rotate between the other fiber boosters. If you're buying the sprouted ground, I prefer going with something that's been airtight packed. And this way it's dehydrated without reducing the omega-3s, so you're not losing out on it. The other great thing when you're buying it sprouted is that it enhances nutrient absorption, so you get more out of your food, which is something we all want. And they say that it's shelf stable at room temp, but I still tell my patients put it in a sealed airtight container and leave it in the fridge. You can also buy it just ground, but if you do, make sure it's vacuum packed and cold pressed. And again, once you open it, you can store it for about 4 to 6 months. So I just wanted to give you a few tips on purchasing some of these things. And so what I typically will do is I'll recommend to go with 3 of these fiber boosters, like we said, basil, chia, and flax. After about a month or 6 weeks, we want to start to advance the fiber diversification. And then I start incorporating and integrating additional boosters to support our gut health and cancer risk reduction. Things like Acacia. I'll show you a few of them, but these are some other fiber boosters that you can add. But you're not replacing the initial three, you're adding. So that's something I want to stress. So here's one of them that I'll recommend sometimes. And again, discuss this with your dietitian to see what suits you best. I like acacia fiber because it doesn't cause any bloating. People tend to feel comfortable with it. A tablespoon has 5 grams of fiber, and it's a great way to incorporate a prebiotic fiber. Oat fiber is fun as well. It's made from ground oat hull, the outer shell surrounding it. It just kind of dissolves and it gets incorporated. You can add it to smoothies too. And then psyllium is also great. It's a prebiotic soluble fiber. And I usually recommend for sure going organic with that one. So there you have just like some basic fiber boosters and a way in which to diversify your fibers, especially in the morning. Some of my patients say, Rachel, you know, I like eating the same thing for breakfast every single day. It doesn't bother me. It's quick. And is that okay? And I say, no, I want you to diversify the base as well. You don't need 5 or 10 recipes in a week. That's too demanding and not necessary, but diversify. Maybe sometimes have, like I have on the masterclass, these fiberized cookies or a smoothie bowl or a cashew yogurt gel kind of pudding that you want to put together. But all in all, it should be very, very simple because we don't want things to be complicated in the morning, but you definitely want to rotate the breakfast and rotate some of the fiber boosters. If you use a phased approach, like we just discussed, you're getting used to it. It's so easy to add one more thing after you're so autopiloted and kind of using something over time. Plus, it allows your body to have a chance to integrate things with ease and with comfort. That's really, really important. So here's a typical bowl of oatmeal. I want to share with you what I see behind the scenes as a registered dietitian nutritionist. I see 13 gorgeous grams of fiber. We've got the apple there for some prebiotic soluble fibers. We have sprouted organic oats, which supplies the beta glucans, among other things. Basil seeds, a great fiber booster. We have the prebiotic fiber powder. And then as you keep going, you can have fun and integrate things like a mushroom powder if you want to, or as you may or may not know, or as mentioned, I'm obsessed with spice blends for their flavor and function. So let me show you how you can actually transform your meal. This is like magic with the addition of spices. You probably already have this in your pantry right now as we speak. So here's an example, and I'm using my the Rachel Beller Nutrition Golden Breakfast Blend. I'm using it because as the developer, I have the formula, so I can do the math and figure out the antioxidant value of the product based on the formulation. So, but anything you use or mix yourself will probably be very, very close. So here you have overnight oats. You've got half a cup of rolled oats in some plant-based milk. The antioxidant value is about 136. Now, with a heaping teaspoon of this blend, which has Ceylon cinnamon, cacao, and turmeric, you're going to go from 136 to 1292. It's amazing. You're enhancing the anti-inflammatory properties, the antioxidant properties, just fantastic. And again, so easy. And you guys probably have all of this already in your pantry right now. So I really encourage power spicing as well as part of your routines. And that's a whole other lecture that I can come back for. So now let's talk about another way to fiber up your day. A good way to do it, a simple way to do it, and something that I advise is to include a plant-based protein during lunch or dinner. If you're not 100% plant-based, that's okay. If you're a vegetarian, that's okay. It's just something that it would be great for you to start integrating. not only because it's so good for you and a premium protein, but it offers so much in the amount of fiber that it has. So here's some quick tips that I offer in my masterclass. Like, for example, I'll have the participants buy different beans that are packed in a Tetra Pak versus cans. I'll talk about this sprouted lentil in a minute. Frozen organic edamame. You can use ready to eat lentils that are flavored, not high in sodium. There's some great products on the market. This one's Philo's right here. And it's so easy to actually, if you want to be plant-based and you're really conscientious also about the fiber, you can take things in your purse if you want to, like dry roasted chickpeas and hemp seeds and all kinds of things. There's all kinds of pouches you can take. You can fetch a salad anywhere, add it on there if you're traveling. My point is, keep it simple. It is doable. It is doable. So I want to highlight one of the proteins that I just showed you guys, the sprouted lentils. What I love about sprouted lentils is that it's fast food at its best. So most foods that are quick to cook, like instant oatmeal and things like that, you're actually losing out on some of the nutritional value. But with sprouted things, you actually are not losing out on the nutritional value. In fact, you're actually enhancing the absorption of the nutrients from the food. So this is a dried bag of green lentils. You can find this at any health food store online. And it has 10 grams of fiber per serving, 10 grams. You'd probably have to eat like 3.5 huge spinach salads to get that amount of fiber. It has protein. It nourishes your gut microbiome, everything we talked about, anti-inflammatory properties. But what I love, again, is that it takes 5 minutes to cook. A lot of people get intimidated by some of these new foods, and they're simple, super, super simple. So here's an example, again, of a meal like I showed you with breakfast. We've got some stuffed bell peppers here, but I'm just looking at the inside now of what's in there. This is one of my recipes that is very, very popular actually with college students who have a kitchen, because it's super, super easy and fast. So what we have here are sprouted lentils, a higher portion here. So we have 15 grams of fiber. And you can continue to upgrade, again, adding power spicing, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant properties, flavor, function. This one here, I used my Everything Savory blend. I see mushrooms here, which have those rich, which is rich in the prebiotic fibers known as beta glucans, onion, garlic, more prebiotic fibers, all good stuff, all simple and easy. So here's a little side-by-side. Again, we're looking at either turkey or chicken burger. The grams of fiber is at 0, whereas here the black bean fajita meal has 15 grams of fiber. Just incredible stuff here. And again, I'm not trying to turn you all into vegans. I'm just showing you these differences, which is pretty impressive. So what I want to say almost in closing here is that when it comes to nutrition, consistency is key. Diversification is key. Again, remember, you want to think of it like an investment portfolio where you're diversifying things. You're not putting everything in one place. And one of the things that I can't stress enough, and I stress this to all of my patients, is that level of consistency and diversification is what you need to get that cumulative effect from your diet. If you're hopping on a trend of some sort, like let's say your friend tells you, you know, you've got to get this product and another superfood and another thing, and you're like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. And you do it for about a month, 6 weeks, whatever it is. You're not keeping up with it consistently over time. You're not going to stand to benefit from a cumulative effect, and that's important. And that's why I'm stressing the phased approach when it comes to integrating more fiber and diversifying. Get used to something. It's not so overwhelming to add one more thing and then another one. Make sure it's evidence-based so that you know it's built to last. It's something you can rely on, that you can keep up with. Same thing, that's what turned me on to all the concept of spicing. People are doing it for years. I think it's something that you can do over time. You're probably already doing it, but now you have more of a knowledge base of how to do that. So when it comes to fiber, all in all, summing it up here, 30 to 35 grams per day. Focus on the insoluble fibers, soluble fibers, those special prebiotic fibers that we talked about, beta glucans, integrate more plant-based proteins, aim for 10 grams of fiber before noon or at some point of the day. And I would like to invite any of you who want to join me in one of my master classes. We just have one that started this past Saturday. The class is going to remain open for another 10 days. You're welcome to join me. We actually have, it's great. It's just an easy action plan designed to help with weight management and reduce breast cancer risk and increase thrivership. I keep everything simple and easy. It's interactive, so without the expense of one-on-one counseling. You get daily personalized feedback from me about your meals, like how's this breakfast, and I'll log in at night and tell you. Totally flexible. You could do it on your own time. We have Zoom meetings. I will do educational things like this and check in with the participants. And we have something special for cancer support community. You can go to bellernutrition.com and enter a code CSC20 for 20% off. And also on our website, I actually have 6 must shop for breakfast items, so you can download that. And I hope you were inspired. I hope you enjoyed today's presentation, and I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I just learned such an incredible amount of information that I plan to implement as of tomorrow morning in my breakfast. So thank you for that. We have quite a few questions here, so I will just dive right in. So one of our questions, a member has just had a recurrence of breast cancer. She has severe IBS. She's tried many diets, but fiber has always been a little bothersome to her. So she's asking if you have any suggestions on how to include it in her diet.
So again, that would be something that I highly recommend you talk to your dietitian about, how to slowly integrate these foods into your diet. Some fibers are more tolerated than others. So like, for example, like a prebiotic fiber powder that we brought up is well tolerated for people with IBS. But again, I think that's something that would be best addressed on a personalized level with a registered dietitian nutritionist. But best of health to you with that. But again, you got to take it really, really slow and come up with a good strategy.
Great, thank you. Now we have a couple questions here about mushroom supplements. One person is asking if shiitake mushroom supplements are helpful. And the other is asking what your thoughts are on if there are any lead contaminants in mushroom supplements.
There are probably lead contaminants in most of the products out there, is what I'm learning. But from what I'm also understanding, is that it's like too little to even accumulate, to have that cumulative negative effect. I usually like to go with like broad mushroom supplements are fine, like these powders. I like to go with a broad spectrum mushroom powder, but I do have to stress that I won't usually put my patient on a mushroom powder before we've explored having them integrate mushrooms into their diet, because it's just so incredible to what you can get from it as far as the fiber content, and diversifying food is always first. So I love going to farmers markets. There are so many different mushrooms. There are great companies online that have inexpensive dehydrated mushrooms. And I love dehydrated mushrooms. You just cook, it's so easy to cook too. It's like, I call it the spaghetti method. So you boil a pot of water, throw the dehydrated mushrooms in there. Instead of like 8 minutes, you go for like 25, 30 minutes, strain them, let it cool, squeeze it, and then saute it. It gives you an opportunity to also to power it up with different spices and herbs and all kinds of things. So we go for that first and diversify. And then for the more exotic mushrooms that we don't always find, or they're really expensive sometimes, I'll recommend using like a broad spectrum mushroom powder that's organic, preferred third-party tested as well. But again, you're hearing all kinds of weird things with that as well. But, and you can add that into your tea. I love adding it into my tea. I added it into my stir-fried vegetables and so much more. So yes, it's great.
Great, thank you. Our next question, this is a great question. If you have any tips on reducing gas or bloating as you're increasing fiber in prebiotic foods.
Okay. So you want to, first of all, that's why I was saying in the beginning, like, talk to your dietitian about what's best for you and how to integrate it. But my best advice in a general group setting is to start slowly, because you can build a tolerance to fiber. You can build a tolerance to beans and legumes and things like that. But everyone's a little different. But one of the tips I have, sometimes I'll recommend a digestive enzyme for my patients to take to help with that. But also the sprouted, you know, those sprouted lentils that I showed you, the bag, the sprouted lentils and sprouted mung beans and sprouted quinoa and things like that definitely reduces those side effects as well, because the sprouting makes it easier for your body to digest the food. Mm-hmm. So that's a great tip as well. And then kind of studying what works for you. Some people do really well with the flax ground, but then maybe the basil seed won't be as friendly for them. So it's kind of personalized, but gradual, and consider the things that I mentioned. It's worth it though. You saw how great fiber is. And what I love is it's just food. You know, we always go for the shortcuts, but this is not complicated.
Yeah, I mean, how does 1 tablespoon hurt you, right?
That sounds right. Good. It's that. And then also just having that clarity and confidence, like, wow, okay, yeah, I'm getting some sprouted rolled oats, and takes me 2 seconds to put together. I mean, the magic with nutrition and how to establish whole thing is simplicity. My hardest job is to simplify things for the person on the receiving end.
Well, it is much appreciated. Love the simplification. All right. Our next questions are asking what your thoughts are on hemp seeds and broccoli sprouts.
Ooh, oh, I love them. Okay. So hemp seeds are definitely not a fiber booster. They're more like a protein booster with good fats as well. So I love hemp seeds. My patients use it as even a protein when they travel. They take a little 4 tablespoons or 3 tablespoons in a little reusable bag. And if they have a salad or something, they put it on there, or veggie soup, they put it on there, and they've got a complete meal. So I love hemp seeds. And then broccoli sprouts. I am obsessed. Just check my Instagram. I am obsessed with broccoli sprouts. I grow my own broccoli sprouts in a jar many times, and buy them whenever you can, at a farmer's market or anywhere. The magic with broccoli sprouts is that 1 tablespoon has as much cancer-fighting sulforaphane as a pound of mature broccoli. So I want you to visualize this. You've got this like amazing meal that is cancer protective, right? And it's got all the good things in it. And then you add just 1 tablespoon of broccoli sprouts. I mean, you've totally next leveled it. And it's such an easy way. I love broccoli sprouts.
Like the next level thought. Someone's asking, what is the best way to do this on a low budget?
Define this. Like, what do you mean? Like eat more fiber and all that? Yeah.
I'm gonna guess that they're asking about finding these products.
So let's see. So we talked about, let's say, oats. Those are really inexpensive. That's the base of your breakfast. The chia seeds, for example, you can find organic chia seeds at Costco, and it's so it's like probably less than a dime for a serving. You can find, I think somebody told me, we work with school organizations around through Matthew McConaughey's foundation, J.K. Livin. We're always looking for practical and affordable solutions. I think like even 99-cent stores and Walmart and Trader Joe's, they all have chia seeds, very inexpensive. Almond milk, inexpensive. Spices, organic will cost you probably $1 or $2 more than not, but it's something I do recommend, but it lasts you for months. Fruit, apples, bananas, things like that. I think a breakfast should cost no more than probably a couple dollars. I think that's a great question. I think it's a great eye-opening question. And I think that, I think it's okay many times to not feel guilty about like not getting a fancy mushroom powder. Like I was focusing on food first. And, you know, some of these mushrooms even are the varieties that we see, they're expensive. So I am saying all mushrooms are great. Even the white ones are great. So
frozen ones.
Frozen is great. Sometimes, by the way, I'll give you a tip on frozen. So frozen fruits and vegetables have been found to have even more nutritional value than the fresh. And the reason is because they're picked at their peak and then frozen immediately, locking in the nutrients, as opposed to some that are so well traveled. And as they travel and it takes more days and so forth, they lose some of their nutritional value. Whereas the frozen, it's locked in. So I love frozen veggies. I buy like huge bags of organic frozen veggies at Costco. It's really affordable.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Someone else is asking your thoughts on oat milk and macadamia milk products.
Oat milk is fine. Macadamia is fine too. I think the key thing is fine is like a blanket statement. So what I do for the masterclass participants is we have a visual shopping guide that shows pictures of different products that we vetted out, looking at the ingredient list, like so that they don't have pro-inflammatory oils and other things that we want to avoid. So going back to oat milk, there are certain oat milks that are going to have a lot of sunflower oil. Like it's amazing. You look at it, you're like, oh my gosh, why are they adding so much oil in there, like refined oils? So I usually like to avoid the ones that have that. I was at Trader Joe's last night. They have an oat milk. It's just oats, water, and maybe one other thing. That's it. It's perfect. It's just so simple. So I think with oat milk, it's more about the particular product than making a general, because some are scary.
Great. Thank you. Okay, we have time, I think, for 2 more questions. Our next question is asking if there's a relationship between fiber and dopamine levels. Can fiber increase your dopamine levels? And if so, how?
I'd have to look at the research a little closer on that one to give you a good answer on that. Probably can.
I would hope so. That's wonderful.
Yeah, exactly. I can't imagine it doesn't.
Okay, and we have another question that's asking about how they can modify getting more fiber as they're following a low carb or low sugar diet.
So low sugar. So you can definitely incorporate fiber on a low carbohydrate diet. You probably just want to make sure you're getting the most bang, I guess. But I think where this is coming from is some people are like, well, I don't want to eat oats because it has so much carbohydrates. And there's a fear of carbs still in the air. And one of the things I do want to stress is that food synergy is a very important concept in nutrition. So if you have, let's say, oats, and you're adding a tablespoon of chia seeds, you've just added an extra set of breaks that has to do with your blood sugars. So people think of it as just like, oh, it's a high carb food, but your body breaks it down differently. They're whole grains. Remember, I talked about how your body has to break through the barriers of those intact grains, as opposed to something that's just whole wheat flour. But then if you add a fiber booster, you're adding fat, protein, fiber, and that really slows things down. It puts the brakes on. So I think it's a big question depending on where it's coming from, but yeah, I think people can easily manage their diet. There's a lot of this discussion that comes up when people are trying to adapt into a plant-based diet as well. Mm-hmm. And they have this like, oh, well, beans have carbohydrates. We're like, yes, but it also comes built in with not only protein, it has like 7-8 grams of fiber in there or more. We saw the lentils, 10, depending on the portion size. So it all depends. It depends what you're eating and what you're combining it with.
Great, thank you. I think we have time for one last question. They were asking about the supplement FiberCon, what your thoughts are on that, and if that's sufficient for getting the right amounts of fiber.
It's not sufficient. So I don't like to rely on fiber supplements for getting your fiber. So although some of them are manufactured fibers, they won't harm you. They're still good to add as like a booster, but I wouldn't rely on that. You want to really focus on the whole foods first and establish that routine before you invite those supplements into your diet. So it's definitely not going to suffice. And we're looking at 30, 35, even 40 grams of fiber. I really want the main focus to be the whole foods because you're getting so much more. It's a whole world. So when you isolate things, you're losing out on everything else that research actually shows works synergistically. So research has shown that when you isolate a compound, you're not going to get the same cumulative effect as having the whole thing. Same with turmeric. We like the whole thing, the whole spice versus the curcumin that's isolated. So yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you so much for your time today, Rachel. I know we've run out of time here, so there were still a couple questions left, but feel free to send them on over to Beller Nutrition. I'm reposting their website into the chat. That's bellernutrition.com. But we are so grateful for the time you took for being here with us today and teaching us all about fiber.
I had a great time and thank you so much. I love it.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel.
Have a good weekend.
Take care.